The courtroom is packed with people, the air thick with anticipation. It's a high-profile case, and everyone knows this is going to be a showdown. On one side of the room sits the lawyer, a man with a reputation for being ruthless. He's sharp, confident, and always seems to have the upper hand in every case. His name is known by many, and he's made a career of tearing down his opponents with his biting words and aggressive tactics. Today though, he's facing someone unexpected, someone who isn't afraid of a challenge. Across the aisle sits the legendary Stevie Nicks, the iconic singer known for her haunting voice and timeless songs. She's no stranger to being in the spotlight, but this isn't a concert or an interview. She's here in court, fighting for something much more personal than her music career. It's about her rights, her legacy. The lawyer, looking down at his notes, smirks as he sees her. He's prepared for this. He's confident that no matter who she is, he can break her down. After all, he's dealt with tough cases before. What's a rock star to a ruthless lawyer? As the judge calls for the case to begin, the lawyer straightens his suit, adjusts his tie, and prepares for the battle ahead. But what he doesn't know is that he's about to meet someone who won't be intimidated by his sharp words or cutting remarks. The tension in the room builds, and it's clear this is going to be a battle like no other. The lawyer stands tall as he addresses the court. His voice is smooth, almost mocking, as he begins to speak. He turns toward Stevie Nicks, his eyes narrowing slightly, sizing her up. With a confident smirk, he begins. "Ladies and gentlemen of the court," he says, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "I don't think I need to explain who Miss Nicks is. She's famous for what, exactly? A few songs that were popular in the 70s and 80s, he pauses, letting his words hang in the air. I'm sure we all can agree that those days are long behind her. The courtroom falls into a quiet murmur, but the lawyer isn't finished. He leans forward, his eyes locked on Stevie with an almost cruel amusement. Now, I don't mean to be rude, he continues. But how much does someone like her really understand about business, about the law, about how the world works now? He lets out a short, dismissive laugh. I'm guessing not much. After all, she's just a singer, right? What does she know about the complexities of music rights, copyrights, and contracts? His words slice through the air like daggers, each one more cutting than the last. The audience watches intently, some of them exchanging uncomfortable glances. The lawyer knows what he's doing. He's trying to break her down, to make her feel small in front of everyone. He's used to winning, used to getting people to back down with his sharp tongue. He turns his attention fully to Stevie, his smirk widening. "Miss Nicks," he says, almost sweetly, "I'm sure you've had a wonderful career, but let's be honest, it's over. Your time in the spotlight has passed." He lets the words linger in the air, savoring the effect they seem to have on the room. "I'm just here to remind you of that." The lawyer leans back in his chair, clearly pleased with himself. He has no doubt that Stevie Nicks will crumble under his words. After all, she's just a washed-up rock star. What could she possibly say in response? The room is dead silent as the lawyer finishes his words. His smug expression is like a shield, and he looks over at Stevie, waiting for her to react. There's no way she could come back from that, he thinks. She's been knocked down, humiliated in front of everyone. But Stevie Nicks doesn't flinch. She's calm, her expression unreadable. She doesn't seem angry or upset, she just sits there, her hands folded in front of her, as though she's been in far worse situations before. The silence stretches on, and the courtroom waits, wondering what she'll do. Finally she leans forward, her eyes locking onto the lawyer. There's a quiet intensity about her, something the lawyer wasn't expecting. The cool confidence she carries with her speaks louder than any words ever could. And then, when she speaks, her voice is soft, but it holds a weight that makes every word feel heavy. "I've been called worse," Stevie says, her voice steady and clear. There's no bitterness in it, just a quiet certainty. "But it's funny, I'm not here to talk about music or fame." She pauses, glancing around the courtroom. "I'm here to talk about something much more important." The lawyer leans forward now, intrigued. He thought he had her cornered, but now, something in the way she speaks makes him uneasy. She's not shaking, she's not panicking, she's just calm. Stevie begins to tell a story, one from her past. When I was younger, she begins, I was told I'd never make it. I was told I wasn't good enough, that my voice wasn't special, that I'd never make it as a musician. They said it over and over again. She pauses, her eyes distant, like she's seeing something in the past. The courtroom is hanging on every word. The lawyer watches her closely, wondering where this is going. I was struggling, fighting for every opportunity, every chance I could get. Stevie continues. But it was never about the fame or the money, it was about something deeper. I wanted to do what I loved, no matter who doubted me. Her voice doesn't waver, even as she speaks of those tough days. She looks back at the lawyer now, her eyes sharp. I've had people like you try to tear me down before, she says, her tone cool but piercing. But the thing is, you don't get to decide when my story ends, only I do. The courtroom is still, there's something chilling in her words, something that cuts through the air with an unexpected power. The lawyer, for the first time, feels a shift in the room. His confident posture begins to falter. Her words aren't just about defending herself, they're a reminder of the strengths she's carried all these years, and in that moment, the lawyer realizes something he didn't expect. She's not someone who can be easily dismissed, not by him, not by anyone. Stevie Nicks doesn't raise her voice, doesn't shout or get angry. It's the quiet confidence she speaks with that holds the room in suspense. Every word she says seems to settle over the audience like a heavy blanket, leaving them in complete silence. The lawyer, still leaning forward in his chair, feels the weight of her words, and for the first time in this courtroom, he's not so sure of himself. He's used to seeing people crumble, to watching them get flustered when he pushes them too far. But not Stevie. Her voice is steady, calm, and the more she speaks, the more her words seem to unravel his arrogance. You think this is just about music, she continues. But it's not. It's about understanding what truly matters in life. It's about knowing your worth, even when the world tells you otherwise. Her eyes never leave his, and with each passing second, he feels like he's losing control. You talk about success like it's measured by money or popularity, she says. But it's not. True success is about resilience. It's about staying true to who you are, no matter how many people try to tear you down. The lawyer opens his mouth as if to respond, but nothing comes out. He tries to find the words, but they're stuck in his throat. It's as though the power of her words has left him speechless. Every time he's ever used his sharp tongue to break someone down, he's seen it work, except now, not this time. Stevie doesn't wait for him to respond. She's not looking for a fight, she's just speaking the truth. I don't need to prove anything to you, she says. I've already lived it. And in the end, it's the ones who stand tall after all the storms who are remembered. Her words aren't just a defense, they're a statement of who she is. A person who has faced more than her fair share of struggles, but still stands strong. And as she speaks, it's clear, she doesn't need anyone to validate her. She knows exactly who she is, and she's not going to let anyone, especially not a lawyer like him, tell her otherwise. The room is heavy with silence. The judge leans forward, watching closely, while the rest of the courtroom sits on edge, unable to look away. It's like the entire room has collectively held its breath since Stevie's last words. No one can believe what just happened. The lawyer, usually so quick with his words, is now sitting frozen. His usual arrogance is gone, replaced by a faint look of confusion. He's staring at Stevie Nicks as if he's seeing her for the first time. His sharp, mocking tone has disappeared, and in its place is an uncomfortable silence. The members of the jury exchange glances. Some of them look at each other with raised eyebrows, as if they too are processing what just happened. Others glance at the lawyer, clearly unsure of what to make of the shift in the atmosphere. It's clear, her words have hit hard, maybe even harder than anyone expected. The lawyer's team, who had been sitting confidently on their side of the courtroom, now seems a little less sure. A few of them glance at one another, fidgeting in their seats. There's a subtle tension in the air, as the reality of what just occurred sets in. The ruthless lawyer, the man they all looked up to for his unshakable confidence, is now second-guessing himself. For the first time, he's the one caught off guard. The judge's expression remains neutral, but even he can't hide a slight change in his demeanor. His eyes flicker between the lawyer and Stevie, his fingers tapping lightly on his gavel. There's a quiet sense of respect in the way he watches her now. Even the audience, who had been holding their breath, seems to be shifting. People are talking in whispers, murmuring about how powerful her words were. There's an energy in the room now, a shift from tension to awe. Stevie Nicks, with nothing but her words, has completely turned the tide of the room. For a moment, everything is still. The courtroom has changed, and the lawyer, the one who had thought he was in control, is now caught in a place he doesn't know how to navigate. The silence in the courtroom stretches on, longer than anyone expected. The lawyer who had entered this battle with such confidence, now sits motionless. His usual sharp words are nowhere to be found. It's as if his voice has disappeared. He clears his throat, trying to regain some of his former composure, but nothing comes out. The usual smoothness of his speech is gone, replaced by a slight hesitation. He looks at Stevie Nicks, as though searching for something to say, but the words don't come. His face has lost its smugness, and now there's a crack in his armor, a crack that he can't fix. For a moment, he looks around the room, hoping that someone will fill the silence for him. But no one speaks. The audience remains quiet, almost holding their collective breath, waiting for what will happen next. The only sound is the light tapping of the judge's fingers against his gavel, a subtle reminder that the courtroom is still very much present, but no one knows what to do in this strange, tense moment. The lawyer's eyes flick back to Stevie. She's sitting there, still calm and composed, the power of her words hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. He wants to challenge her, to respond, to tear her down as he has done to so many others. But for the first time, he realizes something. He can't. The calmness in Stevie's eyes, the quiet strength she carries with her, is something he's never encountered before. He's faced people who were desperate, people who were weak, people who were ready to give up. But Stevie, she's not like that. She's not someone who can be intimidated by a sharp tongue, or an arrogant remark, and he knows it now. He opens his mouth again, trying to find the words, but once more, nothing comes. He shuts it, running a hand over his face in frustration. The audience watches, some of them with pity in their eyes, others with something closer to admiration. They've just witnessed something powerful. For a brief moment, the ruthless lawyer, the man who has made a career out of winning by any means necessary, is the one who's lost. He's been caught off guard by someone he thought he could easily dismiss. Stevie Nicks, without raising her voice or throwing insults, has done what no one else has been able to do. She's left him speechless. The courtroom, which was once filled with tension, now feels different. It's quieter, more respectful. Everyone can feel the shift, the power in the air, and as the lawyer sits there, still unable to speak, it's clear that Stevie's words have changed the course of this case, and maybe even his life.